Hi Pranjal,
Hi Manoj, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Okay. So welcome to the podcast in Madlookz VFX. I think I've been waiting for this episode from very long, and finally today is that day. So how are you today?
I'm doing good. You can totally blame me for it. My schedule has been completely upside down. As I said earlier, we had a very busy summer, but now we are slowing down a little bit and we have time to take a breath. So I'm glad we can do this, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. So as always in this podcast, let's start with a quick intro about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Pranjal. I'm the head of 2D here at Madlookz VFX Toronto. Um, I've been working in this industry for almost 11 years now. Started back in India. So if I take you guys back, how it all started is when I was a kid, like everyone, I was quite inspired by all the VFX, Hollywood VFX movies like Terminator, Jurassic Park, and all that. But I didn't have any idea of how these things are getting made and what's the technique behind it and what sort of filmmaking techniques are required for it. But also back then, I was very much interested in tech magazines.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to in India. I don't know if you remember. We used to get these tech magazines, and there used to be a CD-ROM with it, which had some demo unregistered softwares. So yeah, I used to be a huge collector of those tech magazines. I used to have like bundles upon bundles of those magazines. And one day I stumbled upon this software called Cinema 4D in one of those discs. And I installed it on my computer, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? And then I can create stuff, and everything was 3D. You could put materials, you could light stuff. So I played around a little bit there. At that time there was no YouTube. In that software there was the documentation which came with it, so I just read it all one night. And I started making my own stuff. I started making I didn't start making film right away, but just working with some JPEGs and making some stills and putting light and texture. So that introduced me to this whole world of computer graphics and how it works, right? So from there I took small courses about Photoshop, and I think at that time there was another software called Macromedia Director, which turned into Flash after some time. So I went to this small academy where I learned all these softwares and I got a little bit more knowledge. And then I finished my schooling, and then I came to Bombay, where I was in MAC, my Academy of Advanced Cinematics. Over there, I got a formal introduction to all these softwares and filmmaking technique of Maya, Max, and so yeah, I took part in a bunch of competitions over there, slowly building upon my knowledge and getting idea of how this VFX industry works. At that time, VFX wasn't my interest. It was mostly 3D. Also, I think at that time in India, VFX wasn't booming that much.
Okay.
So it was primarily 3D for me. But yeah, one day I was just working on my personal projects, and a friend of mine just came home and then said, "Hey, have you heard about this new software called Nuke?" And I was like, "What's Nuke?" And he said, "It's much better than Fusion." And I was using a little bit of Fusion at that time, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's better than Fusion! What are you saying?" And then I think Nuke was at Nuke 5. That was Nuke 5 at that time. So yeah, I got an installation for it, and started playing around, and I was totally blown away by the software. And just started doing my own demo reel shots, just shooting myself, doing some color correction, trying to render some 3D in cinema, rendering it out, and compositing a little bit. Obviously in the ways you should not do compositing. But I was just trying my hands out on everything, just trying to figure this thing out. And just did that for like 2-3 years while I was at the academy. And by the end of it, I had I won't say like an amazing demo reel, but a decent one where I could be hired as a roto artist. So I took that demo reel, I applied to a studio called Prime Focus, and I got hired over there as a BG prep artist. So at Prime Focus, I was working on the very first movie I started with was Ravan. And then quickly I moved into some Hollywood projects. So I got to learn a lot at Prime Focus. Um, and I felt that that 4 years of BG prep and BG cleanup actually really, gave me some really strong understanding of working of Nuke, and gave me a lot more confidence to mature into much more of a compositor role. After that, I went into another studio called After VFX. Over there, I worked in their advertising section and also in their film production section as a compositor. Didn't spend too much time over there, maybe like two years something, and then from there I straight came to Canada. And over here, I started my studies further in VFX at Seneca. And the Seneca course was 8 months long. And it was pretty intensive. Lot of projects, lots of assignment. It was jam packed. We got to learn a lot, and by the end of it, I had a pretty okay looking demo reel, which got me a job at Rocket Science. And then I was at Rocket Science as an intermediate compositor for 3 years, and from there I went to Mavericks. I started as a senior compositor here at Mavericks, and then was a lead compositor for 4 months, and jumped into this new head of 2D role for, it's been like 6 months now. Yeah, it's going to, and it's going strong.
So I follows your channel from very long, and there are such amazing contents over there. Nowadays, like as everyone knows, that technology is improving very rapidly. So I just want to know how you are staying updated in this very much dynamic tech or software world, and also can you share your routines for learning?
Well, first of all, it's not very easy for me as I've jumped into this new role. Things have gone real busy. But what I like about doing my own projects is telling your own stories. Eventually, I want to, jump into a little bit of a filmmaker role later on in my career. So I use some of these projects, which I do as a guide to reaching that stage. I mean, learning wise, I try to learn as much as possible, and it's mostly on the weekends where I try to. I have several projects running, and I just try to put little time on the weekend working on them. Of course, as I said, work from home has actually, provided a little bit more bandwidth of doing these projects. And yeah, so basically what happens is, if I have a project in mind, I will start, doing a little bit of research of how I need to do it. Most of my projects are driven by learning something new. So if there's a new filmmaking technique or a new software which is out, which I want to learn, I will try to think of a project which I can utilize that software or that tool and also make it look good. So if I have an idea, I will quickly pen it down, and then I will try to figure out, okay, what software and what tools I need to make this happen. And then there'll be a little bit of research, and then I also do a little bit of a workflow chat to just figure out what would be the the imports and exports and the whole workflow between 3D packages and 2D packages. And once that is there, and then I try to just plug it away and then just keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering how you are able to learn all these 3D softwares. And I think I have seen Blender tutorials, I have seen Unreal tutorials, I have seen now started seeing Fusion tutorials and Nuke tutorials. so many softwares.
Yeah, right. But also the fact is, like, for some people it might be a little bit, when they get off work and when they log out at 7:00, you do feel a little bit exhausted. You don't want to look at the screen anymore, right? So what I usually do, I just go here and then sit on the couch for like one hour and just do nothing. Maybe I don't even touch my phone. And that gives me a little bit of time to get back to the computer. And I make sure I have dinner before because when you're sitting for like hours, you forget to eat. So yeah, and then I mean, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I have developed this tendency to stay awake a little late, so
Mhm.
I can easily go till 3 a.m. in the morning, and be ready next day for work as well.
Oh.
Um, but I mean, the other thing is, what I can suggest is, I always try to do smaller projects. um, I used to do some bigger projects, which I realized takes a lot of time. But
Mhm.
now I've started doing some smaller projects so that I can manage my time easily, and I'm not spending too much time in one project.
Mhm.
So yeah, just doing smaller ones where I can focus more and have some time to actually put into it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So let's talk something about Unreal Engine.
All right.
I know you are learning Unreal Engine, or you are a master in it maybe now. So
I'm not actually.
why I just told it, like I saw an amazing tutorial in your channel, and do you think Unreal Engine can change the role of a compositor in any way? If so, how is that possible?
Well, I don't think it would change the role anytime soon of a compositor. I think what it will do is it might just create another breed of compositors who are
Mhm.
called set compositors. So the set compositors are basically operators, like real Unreal Engine operators. And so they know more about the engine. They know how to key in real time. They know how the engine works and to tweak the lighting and stuff. So I
Mhm.
think it will not affect the role of current compositor and current 2D techniques, but it will definitely give birth to this new breed of compositors who are good at Unreal Engine, who are good at Nuke, who understand how camera works between Unreal Engine and other 3D softwares. But other than that, I think traditional 2D compositing is going to stay here for a while.
Do you think like they are using Nuke in the sets for the live compositing?
I think they are. I think they are. What they do is, if I'm correct, is they shoot with the sometimes they don't always have the projection going on, so they sometimes have green screens instead of projections
Mhm.
on those screens, and that green screen needs to be composited in real time. So they have tools going on, so I'm definitely sure they are using Nuke somewhere in the workflow.
Yeah, I mean, a virtual production is definitely not up to that level, like the compositing which we do in real life. But in future, things may go. I don't know how things are going to change in in the nearby
I
future.
think, yeah, I think it's going to affect the 3D department sooner than 2D.
Yeah,
Soon, I think we will have assets being rendered in Unreal Engine
yeah,
because they look as good as the traditional path tracers, right? So
yeah.
I think sooner, I think lighters would be the first one to jump into Unreal Engine
Mhm.
before the compositors.
Yeah, I heard like many studios are building these kind of virtual sets in Toronto also,
Yeah.
like Pixomondo, I guess. Right?
Pixomondo has some sets in Toronto, probably the biggest ones in North America.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they shot Star Trek, the latest season of Star Trek over there, if I'm
Mhm.
correct.
Yeah,
But also there's a lot of BG treatment that still needs to be done after the film is shot.
yeah,
In some cases, it's harder because the picture is locked, right, and you don't have any way of treating the BG without doing massive rotoscopy on
yeah.
those plates, right?
Mhm.
So there are pros and cons to that workflow, but I think on the filmmaking side for directors, for DOPs, I think it's a fantastic tool.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
easy. And I think for everyone, Nuke is the favorite compositing software. So, what are some of your favorite tools or gizmos inside Nuke?
Um, in case of Nuke, I'm pretty old school. I still like um, I still like how Nuke deals with 3D and 2D at the same time. And there are some tools in Nuke which bridge these two different workspaces. Like, for example, the Reconcile 3D node. The
Mhm.
Reconcile 3D node is it's quite amazing. You can actually track something in 3D and you will get a 2D point for it, and vice versa. And also nodes like points to 3D is quite amazing. Like how you can tracks 3 points on your plate and you get the exact position of the depth in your scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that way I really like. In terms of gizmo, there's so many gizmos out there. But the one I use always, we use at our studio is the Das Grain. Das Grain is quite amazing. It has pretty much solved the grain problem of the industry to 80%. Kudos to its developers, and it's quite amazing. You just connect the right inputs and it works pretty much every time.
Every people, every compositors comes in this podcast mention about that's great as their
That's
favorite.
great. Yeah, I remember before Dasgin didn't exist, grain was such a big issue, and we used to get so many kickbacks because of it. But I think that seems to be going away now.
So talking about the other softwares, which are some of the softwares which you have good knowledge of, and also where you use that in your daily work?
In my daily work at studio level, we use Nuke.
Yeah.
Right now we're using Nuke 12. For 3D, if I'm correct, 3D uses Maya, Houdini, and we also use Substance for our texturing. And we also have a couple of licenses for Mari. Right. On the editorial side, for IO, they use Nuke Studio to send shots to the client and do ingestions. Other than that, we also have Blender at studio.
Really?
At some machine. Yeah, we do have Blender. I use it time to time. So if I'm getting a geo or something from 3D and I need to tweak something in the geo, I could quickly import that into Blender and export it myself rather than asking them.
So finally, Blender is coming into the visual effects industry studios, I guess.
Yeah, it's being used. It's one of those silent players. A lot of people use it, but not a lot of people talk about it.
Blender is awesome nowadays, especially.
Yeah, and I use it not because it's free, because it's powerful.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So there's that. On the personal side, for my projects, of course, I use Unreal Engine time to time, and I also use other. I would say they are not like full-fledged softwares, but small utility softwares like FSpy. So FSpy is a software where you can actually get the focal length of any still image by drawing some lines. I don't know if you remember, PFTrack used to have it, where you draw some lines and you get the right focal length of the camera, and you can export that into a 3D package and then do projections and stuff. I wish Nuke had something like that. So FSpy is the one I use regularly. And then other than that, I really like this image flipper, DJV. It's an open source image sequence flipper, which plays image sequences. Is open source. It's quite amazing. I use that all the time. Other than that, of course, Blender. I use a lot of add-ons for Blender. I think at this point I have too many add-ons. I should stop at this point. So yeah, I use that a lot. Other than that, I've been trying to dive a little bit into Houdini as well. So I use that also time to time. Yeah, that's pretty much the softwares I use on a regular basis. Other than that, Photoshop, Premiere, After Effects, it's the regular.
I think we covered almost the visual effects industry. Softwares used in the
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's great. That's amazing. So,
I won't say that I am, pro in all of them. I just use the features they are best for.
And that's needed.
That is done. I just close after I'm done. I just close it and then jump on to something else.
Yeah. Just getting the work done.
These softwares are enormous, and it's very hard to excel in each one of them.
Compositing is the end department in the pipeline, which combines everyone's work. So sometimes life of compositors can be a mess, of course. So from a successful compositor into a head of compositing right now, from that experience, can you share some insights on how one can organize, how one can plan, or you can say prioritize his or her day-to-day work as a compositor?
The very first thing any senior compositor or intermediate compositor or even junior compositor is they should consider is communication. Communication is the key. I'll give you an example. If you feel that you can't do a roto for a shot, you should ask for it. If you feel you can't do a prep for a shot, ask for it. And also asking for it at the right time. You can't ask for it when the shot is due next day. You need to ask it beforehand. So that skill, or that judgment comes after a while, when you actually know, okay, I shouldn't be spending this much time on this part of the shot, and rather I would focus on that, and someone else can do that for me. So just having that understanding and communicating it to the team is very valuable, and that's what we encourage all the time. Other than that, understanding what are the creatives of the shot. So there might be shots which are technically very challenging, but there's also a creative aspect to the shot, and there has to be a good balance between those two aspects of the shot, that how much time you're spending creatively and also how much time you're spending fixing all the technical challenges of the shot. So I would say, try to tackle all the technical problems of a shot, but also at the end of the when you're done with that, also make sure that the supervisor sees the shot and guides you creatively as well. So just giving them updates on time to time basis, that hey, this is what is looking right now. And a lot of beginner compositors, or the compositors that are just starting in the industry, they feel shy on submitting versions. They don't want to submit a version after like every grade they put, but it doesn't hurt. I always encourage that they should put out more work in progress versions, and not that at every stage, but when they feel that, okay, I need some creative directions and this is what my idea is, let me show it to them. Just getting that input as much as possible really goes a long way. So there's that, and also time management, of course. Just managing your time. And if you think, so my approach to big shots are like, I try to tackle the most difficult problem first. Because when you're starting a shot, you are pumped up, you have that energy to tackle those big problems, right? And some people like to do the other way. I mean, in some cases that also works. But what happens is, you start doing this little tackling these little problems, but you keep the bigger ones for the end. But what happens, your energy drains out till you reach that big problem, and you're like, oh my god, I just did all this and I need to fix this big thing which I don't have the energy to. So try to tackle the bigger problems in the very first beginning of a shot. And as the shot progresses, you can fix the smaller ones.
So, like, talking about the composite role, what are the main skills needed for a compositor, especially from a beginner level? I know there can be many, but the first 5, according to you. I mean, why I'm asking this is because there are many instances where I get a lot of such questions from beginner level, or from students also, about like how is compositing role and what skills needed for me to jump into a compositor role straight away, not being as a roto paint or something like that. They just want to jump into compositing straight away. So what are the main skills needed for a compositor?
Well, the first would be is, the thing is, you can start learning the software first. Spend maybe like few days, maybe some time to actually learn the software and how it works. And when you feel confident enough, then you start diving into these fundamentals like lighting, composition, and also how color works in compositing and stuff like that, and how a camera works in compositing. So the very first one would be lighting. Understand lighting, how lighting works in real world, what GI is, what bounce light is, and also how shadows get affected by the distance of the light from the object and stuff like that. Just try to research as much as possible. The best way to do this is take out the camera. You don't need to have a professional level DSLR. Just go out with your phone, shoot some pictures, so that you understand light in the overcast light, the harsh lights, and just get those fundamental fixed as you are learning the software as well. The next thing would be, of course, composition. Understanding what makes a good composition. As everyone says, learn the rules before you break them. So learning all the fundamentals of composition, and how you can direct the viewer's eye in your shot of where you want the user to look at. So that also goes a long way. The next, as I said, is understanding camera fundamentals. How a sensor works, what is film back, what is aspect ratio, and different workings of different cameras. Also having a very solid understanding of depth of field, of how focal length changes the depth of field, and understanding the basics of shutter values. Especially when you're doing motion blur, the shutter values are very important, and you should know the rule of 180-degree shutter and stuff like that. So yeah, those are like three, I guess I said. And the fourth one would be just having a technical skills. Just having some patience when doing problem solving, and knowing the tools of Nuke, maybe what you're working with. Also practicing keying a lot. That's what I say. That's something which I don't see a lot of compositors doing these days, especially the ones who are just starting. They don't practice key a lot. Keying is one of the most difficult aspect of compositing, I would say, because you need to know the software, and you need to know what key would work for what edge, and how you treat the D-spill, how you add in the luminance and stuff like that. So yeah, I've seen a lot of compositor being too excited about 3D and projection and this and that, but when it comes to keying, I feel that sometimes they are all around the place. So yeah, so I think that pretty much sums it up, I guess, right?
So something personal now, like, can you recommend any blogs or websites / YouTube channels also for all the listeners here?
Yeah, sure. There's so many YouTube channels out there, but of course, the ones I follow are, some are 3D channels, some are 2D channels. For 2D, I would say Compositing Academy is a really good one. The guy is pushing out some really fine tutorials every week or 2 weeks. And also Compositing Mentor, I guess it's called.
Tony Lyons.
Yeah, Tony Lyons. So that's really good. And so that's those on the 2D side. And on 3D side, I would say Flip Normal is really good. If you want to learn Blender, I would say Blender Guru is a really good place to start with. And also there are some independent content creators like Punisher. He does some amazing 3D challenges, which you can take part into. One thing about challenges is like it gives you an end goal, an end deadline, so that really helps you to push yourself. So following those content creators, taking part in their challenges. And other than that,
do you follow Corridor Digital?
Oh yeah, I do follow Corridor Digital a lot, but I find it more of a fun channel rather than educational. But yeah, some of the stuff they do is really cool. But also the reviews they do is pretty cool, and it's very informative. So you get to learn what other people are noticing, and how they dissect a shot and actually talk about it. It's very informative.
I think attitude is the key for success in any field. I too did lots of mistakes in my early career when I started my work, which resulted in very bad criticism. Let's suppose the lead or supervisor is upset about a mistake someone made in a shot. So like how he or she should react as a beginner?
The very first thing I would suggest is firstly own up to the mistake. You shouldn't be argumentative about it. Of course, there could be different ideas which you want to convey, which are not going which the lead or the senior compositor might not have the same idea. It's okay to have different suggestions and opinions,
Mhm.
but just owning it. Okay, that, hey, yeah, I see you had a different idea for this shot, I get it,
Mhm.
and I'll try to address these notes. The next would be communication. If you feel that you're not understanding a particular note, just communicating that to the lead compositors. And most of them, people are very kind in our industry, and they like to sit with you and explain what they are actually thinking about the shot.
Mhm.
And just having a positive attitude, a very positive attitude about all this. It's a learning stage. I mean, what happens is, once a situation like this arises, what we think is, um, we think that the lead compositor or the supervisor had figured it all in his head. He knows exactly what to do. So we publish the shot and we expect it for them to give precise notes, and you address that and the shot is approved. It doesn't work like that. A lot of time they're also trying to figure things out in their
Yeah.
head. So it's also fair to give them a chance, you
Mhm.
know, to explore the shot a little bit more, and not be that not be very critical about it.
Mhm.
So having a little, so I think it's a both way thing. You should have a little bit of bandwidth as the lead, and
Mhm.
just having a very healthy relationship that way. And we should also remember that at the end of the day, everyone is telling a story and we are serving to the story. So just having a positive attitude about it, communication, and just being very welcoming to the notes and whatever changes the leads are giving.
Yeah. I think especially in visual effects and animation, people should have that patience to go through the process.
Yeah, I think it does come. It does take time for that patience to build up. Um, I see that a lot of beginner compositors, they feel very demotivated when they get more than 10 notes.
Yeah.
But the same thing which happens to a senior compositor, he's like, okay, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense,
Yeah.
and then he addresses it, and because he's very accepting to the notes, right? He doesn't take it personally,
Mhm.
and he's
Yeah.
very communicative about it. And by the time they reach that stage, it just comes in naturally.
Yeah. So last year when COVID hit, virtual filmmaking became so trendy at that time, and I think right now many studios, as we discussed, like many studios are adapting to that slowly. So I'm sure many such innovations are coming up. I have seen some articles on cameras, new kind of innovations in camera. So what are the new big trends in visual effects industry according to you?
Of course, Unreal is a big one. The way we shoot movie is fundamentally changing the way we shoot movies.
Yeah.
So that's a really big one coming up. It's also affecting the whole VFX pipeline,
Mhm.
and also not only Unreal being used in a set form, in using it as a projection screen, but
Mhm.
also a lot of people are using it to do previs, real-time previs.
Yeah.
So what happens at our studio, we have a different Unreal department here at Mavericks,
Mhm.
and what happens is, we sit with the director or the client, and then we figure out the camera angle, we figure out the action in real time in Unreal. And so we are getting immediate feedback.
Mhm.
And it's, so previously what used to happen, we used to be in Maya, render out a playback, a grayscale playback render, and
Mhm.
then put it in an edit, send it to the client. The client would take 2 days to react to it. You get it back, you make the changes, you send it back again. But now this whole delay is gone, and we are sitting with the director, with the client in real time and making those changes. So
Right.
that's what I see. Unreal is affecting different aspects of filmmaking,
Mhm.
which is very interesting.
Mhm.
Other than that, machine learning, of course, as Nuke has really introduced some really cool machine learning tools.
Mhm.
So I hope slowly industry will move to Nuke 13. It's
Mhm.
a little bit of a pain because you have to it's a different Python version. You need to transfer all the packages and stuff like that. But once that transition is complete, and we get access to these amazing machine learning tools, so maybe that would be helpful in RotoPaint, where you can automate certain tasks, and also in compositing. So some of those machine learning tools, Unreal is going pretty good, and that's pretty much I can think of.
Like, do you think automation and artificial intelligence and all these things are going to take out some jobs, at least from the visual effects industry?
I don't think it will take out any jobs, but I think what would happen is people will have to up their game. They will have to be constantly updated with these tools, and as there's so much content out there to learn new stuff, I think that the new breed of compositors would require very less mentorship to bring them up to that level. Before any junior compositor would have to go into 2 months of training, 1 month of training of roto and prep and compositing. But now I feel there's so much content out there, and people are learning every day. So we're going to be having a new breed of compositors who can be a good intermediate compositors in like few months. So that's what's going to happen. I don't think it will affect any current jobs. But I mean, it will be more like who all can be up to survive and be up to date to that that whole change. And people who are even like they don't find time, or they have different priorities, those are the people who might get a little bit slowed down.
Are you learning Python nowadays?
No, actually, I'm not getting enough time to learn Python. I used to do a little bit of it back in 2019. But with coding, it's something like if you stop doing it, you forget. So I did some tools. Now I don't even remember a single line of code, but I can do like little stuff in Nuke. But I've been really busy to actually do any of that stuff. But I would really like to.
I think like learning Python or coding is gonna be super important in future. So definitely at one time, like we should get into that as a compositor as well. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. Also, like not learning Python as with the GUI and all those complex Python tools or Python coding, but just learning little snippets in Nuke of how you can do stuff, how you can automate stuff. I know a lot of people I won't say they will get spoiled, but they get used to these big companies and their tools and stuff. And once they go to a smaller company, they don't have these tools, right? So they get confused that, okay, how do I automate this? Because I used to have this automation tool at this company, I don't have it anymore. So at that time, if knowing a little bit of coding and just writing your own tools to do it, it really is definitely a plus in your resume.
I mean, I have seen many people faces the same issue with the Gizmos as well. They got addicted to some Gizmos in one specific company, and when they move into another company, they are not able to find that Gizmo, and they're stuck up in their work.
Yeah, exactly. That happens a lot.
I mean, I have a question about previs. Like, do you think like previs is becoming a super important thing in visual effects production?
Yeah, I think so. And especially real-time previs, it is. Before, I don't think there are too many previs which used to happen for sequences, but even for TV, because now the TV series industry is booming and they are being shot as in an equal production quality of a feature film. So they have the money, they have the resources, and they are putting it in the right place.
Finally, we would like to get some guidance. Can you share some tips and tricks to succeed in the VFX industry?
Well, I'm no expert, but I'll try to say a few things. Is just having positive attitude, and also realizing that you are in this industry for your passion. It's a very passion-driven industry, and if you don't have it in you, you can't go long. So just having that passion-driven attitude, learning new stuff, communication, being kind to people. What I try to say to all the budding compositors, we can teach you the skill, we can teach you the tool, but what we can't teach you is good attitude. That is something which comes from within. So just being a nice person, and just talking to people in a nice way, being kind, and people are generally very happy to assist you and mentor you. So yeah, just having a little bit of a positivity around you is really helpful.
Like I have seen people works like for 18 hours, 12 hours and all that. So do you have any recommended hours for VFX artist?
You mean in a production?
Even though if it is production, or even though it is like for a home projects or something like that?
Well, I would say health should be the number one priority. If your health is down, no matter what you do, things are not gonna be looking very, very good for you. I can't put a number on it saying that you should, because everyone is different. But I would say just be very have a good understanding of your body limits, how much you can push your body. I remember when I was just starting out, I used to work like crazy. I used to stay at the studio for like 2-3 days and go home, work on my own stuff as well. Now I can't do it because it's because I've gotten used to this normal routine now. So just listening to your body, just listening to those signs when your body says that, oh, hey, you just need to rest now, it's too much. So yeah, anything over, if you're going over 8 hours, maybe just going another 4 hours or 2 hours or 3 hours until you feel tired. But don't push yourself. If you feel tired and you're trying to stay awake, you are really harming your body in a way.
So like I think you follows my channel, so any suggestions or feedbacks that can improve my channel, and also something for my work also?
No, I mean, your channel is great. There's so much content in there, and the frequency you have, by the frequency you upload, it's amazing. I wish I could upload in that frequency. So you definitely have a social media presence, and I do realize it takes a lot of time and effort and patience to put out content on that frequency, and good content. Or the only thing I can suggest is, I would see you using a lot more 3D. Doing some 3D tutorials. We'd like to learn from those, and also sharing doing some collaboration with YouTube content creators, and just having a little bit more variety maybe is what we would like to see. But I'm sure you're working on it, and your channel is already pretty awesome. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Thank you, Pranjal. I hope we will do some collab soon.
Sure, definitely, man.
Great. So finally, thanks, Pranjal, for spending your valuable time, I mean, after your work in this podcast. I'm sure this episode gonna be inspiring for many talents in the industry. So keep on doing such amazing work in your channel. I wish you all the best for that, and a very good night there in Toronto.
Thank you, Manoj. And sooner or later, maybe we'll get to meet in person, and we can have a coffee together or something.
Sure.
And best of luck for your channel and your content as well.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Bye.